I thought my marriage was solid, but when I checked an old family photo album, I noticed the same person quietly appearing in the background of every major event in our lives, and when I asked my husband who it was, he froze and refused to answer. I was supposed to be creating a photo album for our 10th wedding anniversary. Tom was working late again, the kids were finally asleep, and I had this romantic notion of surprising him with a scrapbook of our best memories. I'd pulled out boxes of old photos from the closet, spreading them across our dining room table like pieces of a puzzle I thought I knew by heart. That's when I saw him. At first, it was just a feeling. Know that creeping sensation when something's off but can't place it. I was looking through our wedding photos when I noticed this guy in the background of one. Tall, dark hair, nice smile. He was talking to someone near the bar, partially obscured by other guests. I didn't recognize him, but weddings are full of plus ones and distant relatives, right? Then I found him in another photo. This one from Emma's first birthday party 3 years later. Same guy, same easy smile. This time holding and chatting with Tom's college friends near the bouncy castle. My stomach did this weird flip. 2 random appearances may be a coincidence. But then there was another. Tom's promotion party at his firm. The mystery man was there too. In the background of a group, his hand casually resting on the shoulder of Tom's coworker's wife. My hand started shaking as I rifled through more photos. Christmas morning when Emma was 5 and Jake was 2. There he was again, barely visible through our front window, like he'd been watching from the street. Our housewarming party in 2018. Beach vacation with Tom's family last summer. Every major milestone, every celebration, every moment I thought was private and precious to our little family. This stranger had been there watching, documenting, existing in the shadows of my entire marriage. When Tom finally came home at 11 p.m., I had the photos arranged in chronological order across the table like evidence at a crime scene. I'd counted 17 different occasions over 8 years where this man appeared in our pictures. 17 times someone had been present for my most intimate family moments, and I had no idea who he was. Hey, sorry I'm so late, the Peterson account is me. Tom loosened his tie, then stopped dead when he saw the photos spread out. His face went white, not surprised white, guilty white. Tom, my voice came out steadier than I felt. Who is this person? I pointed to the wedding photo first. Tom's eyes darted to it, then to me, then to the floor. He ran his hand through his hair, the same gesture he'd made when I caught him lying about forgetting our anniversary 2 years ago. What do you mean? This man. He's in every single major event of our marriage. Look, I showed him photo after photo. With each one, Tom seemed to shrink further into himself. Our wedding, Emma's birthday, work parties, our vacation. He's been there for everything, Tom, everything, and I've never seen him before in my... Tom sat down heavily in the chair across from me. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of our refrigerator and the tick of the kitchen clock. The clock I'd bought for our 3rd anniversary, back when I still believed in forever. I don't know what to tell. Sarah, can start with his name. Those 2 words hit me like a physical. In 10 years of marriage, Tom had never said anything was complicated. Tom was the straightforward one, the reliable one, the man who proposed by listing all the logical reasons we should spend our lives together, who planned our finances in spreadsheets, who never left dishes in the sink or forgot to put gas in the car. Uncomplicated. Tom looked at the photos again, his shoulders sagging. His name is David. And he's... Tom's voice cracked. He's my oldest friend. I stared at him. Oldest friend. Tom, I've known for 12 years. I've met all friends. I planned our rehearsal dinner and invited everyone important too. I know college roommates, high school buddies, work friends. I've never heard mention anyone named David. Because... Tom started pacing. Because he's not supposed to be around anymore. The room felt like it was tilting. What does that mean? It means we had a falling out. Years ago, before I met. He wasn't supposed to be at any of these things. I picked the wedding photo. David wasn't dressed like a wedding guest. No suit, no tie. He was in casual clothes, standing far from the main celebration, almost like he was hiding, or watching. Tom, if had a falling out with him before we met. Why is he at our wedding? Why is he at our daughter's birthday party? Why is he outside our house on Christmas morning? Tom stopped pacing. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Fear mixed with something else. Resignation, maybe. Because he never left. I went cold. What do you mean he never left? I mean David has been keeping track of us. Of our family, and I've been letting him. The words hung in the air like smoke. I could feel our marriage, our entire together, starting to around the edges. 10 years of thinking I knew my husband, thinking I knew my own story, and suddenly I was staring at evidence that nothing was what it seemed. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Tom looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw the everything I thought I knew about us. Because Emma isn't daughter Sarah, she's his. The room went dead silent except for the sound of my heart breaking in real time. The photos scattered as my hands went limp, and I watched our happy memories flutter to the floor like dying leaves. Emma, my Emma with her dark hair and easy smile. Emma, who I'd carried for 9 months, who I'd nursed and rocked and loved with every cell in my body. Emma, who called me mama and drew me pictures and crawled into bed with us during thunderstorms. Emma, who looked nothing like me or Tom but everything like the stranger in our photos, relying. But even as I said it, I could see the truth in Tom's face. The pieces were clicking into place with horrible clarity. The way Tom had been so eager to start a family right after we got married. The way he'd insisted on that specific hospital, that specific doctor. The way he'd handled all the paperwork while I was recovering from delivery. Sarah, please let me explain. Explain what? That my entire is a lie. That the man I married has been lying to me for 10 years. That my daughter. I couldn't finish the sentence. The word daughter suddenly felt foreign in my mouth, like I was speaking a language I didn't recognize. She is daughter, Tom said desperately. In every way that matters, she's yours. You're the one who raised her, who loves her, but she's not mine. The truth was a physical weight in my chest, crushing the air from my lungs. She's his, David's. This stranger who's been stalking our family for years. Tom nodded, tears streaming down his face. But have to understand, I never meant for it to happen like this. When we found out couldn't get pregnant. What? The room spun. We never had fertility issues. Tom's face crumpled. The doctor said it would be very difficult, nearly impossible. We talked about adoption, remember? But then David offered. Offered what? He offered to help. He said he'd donate. And we could have a baby that was at least half ours, half mine. I felt like I was drowning in my own living room. Used his without telling me. I thought it would be easier if didn't know. If could just be happy being pregnant, being a mother. I thought lie to me for the rest of our lives. I thought I was protecting. The photos were scattered all around my feet now, David's face staring at me from a dozen different angles. David who had biological rights to the child I'd raised. David who had been watching Emma grow from the shadows, documenting her childhood, staying close to a daughter who didn't even know he existed. How long has he been in contact with? The whole time. He wanted updates, pictures. He wanted to make sure she was okay. We've been talking to him for 10 years, meeting with him, sharing our private moments. Tom nodded miserably. He loves her, Sarah. She's his biological daughter. He had every right to know about her. I'm her mother. The words came out fierce, protective, desperate. I carried her, I gave birth to her. I've been her mother for 8 years. Ain't still are. Nothing changes that. But everything had changed. Every bedtime story, every scraped knee I'd kissed better, every proud moment at school plays and soccer games, they all felt different now. Tainted by the knowledge that I'd been living someone else's story without knowing it. I looked down at the photos again. In one from last Christmas I could see Emma through the window, opening presents. David was on the street, barely visible but there. Watching his daughter celebrate while I remained clueless in my own home. Does Emma know? No? God, no. Tom's silence was answer enough. Who else, Tom? My parents, my brother, a few close friends. The humiliation hit me like a tsunami. All those family gatherings where I'd felt slightly left out of inside jokes. All those times Tom's mother had made comments about Emma looking like the family side. All those friends who'd given me strange looks when I talked about Emma's personality traits that seemed to come from nowhere. They all knew. They'd all been watching me raise another man's child while pretending along with Tom that she was mine. I need to leave. The words came out calm, which surprised me. Inside I was screaming, Sarah, please. We can work through this. Leave. Now. Where am I supposed to go? Go to David's. Seems like two have been close enough. Tom gathered some clothes while I sat motionless at the dining table, surrounded by the wreckage of what I'd thought was my. Every photo felt like evidence of my own stupidity. How had I not seen it? How had I not questioned why Emma looked so different, why Tom had been so secretive about certain aspects of her birth, why he'd always handled all her medical appointments in those early years. After Tom left, I went upstairs to check on the kids. Emma was sleeping peacefully in her room, her dark hair spread across the pillow. She looked so much like David it was almost comical. How had I convinced she looked like me? Jake was curled in his toddler bed, thumb in his mouth. Jake who looked exactly like Tom, exactly like the photos of Tom as a child. Jake who was definitely, unquestionably mine. I stood in the hallway between their rooms, feeling like a stranger in my own house. One child was mine completely, the other belonged to a man I'd never met, a man who'd been watching her grow from the shadows while I lived in ignorant bliss. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. I'm sorry had to find out this way. I never wanted to. Emma is lucky to have as her mom. Can we talk, David? He had my phone number. Of course he did. Tom had probably been sharing every detail of our lives with him for years. I turned off my phone and went downstairs to gather the photos. Each one felt like a lie now, a beautiful facade covering in truth. I was the only person in our family who hadn't known our real story. As I picked the last photo, our wedding picture, I noticed something I'd missed before. In the background, barely visible behind a pillar, David wasn't just watching the ceremony, he was crying. The man who'd fathered my daughter had been crying at my wedding, and suddenly I understood that this was so much worse than I'd even imagined. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in Emma's room, watching her breathe, trying to reconcile the child I knew with the truth I'd learned. Every feature I'd attributed to my side of the family now made perfect sense. Her stubborn streak, her artistic talent, the way she hummed unconsciously when she was happy. These weren't mysteries anymore. They belonged to David. When morning came, I had to pretend everything was normal. Emma bounded downstairs asking for pancakes, completely oblivious to the fact that her world had imploded 12 hours earlier. Jake toddled after her, babbling about cartoons. I made breakfast like a robot, my hands moving through familiar motions while my mind reeled. Where's Daddy? Emma asked around a mouthful of pancake. He had to leave early for work, sweetheart. The lie came so easily. I was already becoming someone who lied to protect people, just like Tom had been lying to protect me. The irony was suffocating. My phone had been buzzing all morning. Tom, David, Tom's mother, even Tom's brother. Word was spreading through Tom's family that the secret was out. I ignored them all until Emma and Jake were settled with morning cartoons, then finally listened to the voicemails. Tom's voice, desperate and shaking. Sarah, please call me back. We need to talk about this. The kids need stability. Emma needs. David's voice, unfamiliar but gentle. Mrs. Patterson, I know this is overwhelming. I want to know that I never wanted to disrupt Emma's. Her mother in every way that matters. But I'd like to meet, willing. to explain. Tom's mother, Margaret, trying to sound casual. Sarah, dear, Tom told me about conversation last night. I think there might be some misunderstandings. Could we have lunch today? Misunderstandings. As if accidentally raising another man's child for 8 years was just a simple mix. I called Tom first. Sarah, thank God. Are okay? No, Tom. I'm not okay. I need to know everything. Right now? Can I come home? We should talk in person. No. Tell me over the phone. I can't look at right now without wanting to scream. And the kids are here. Tom was quiet for a long moment. Then he started talking, and with every word, my crumbled a little more. David had been Tom's best friend since college. They'd been roommates, best men at each other's planned weddings, closer than brothers. But David had always been the golden boy. Better looking, more charismatic, more successful with women. Tom had spent years in David's shadow, watching girls choose David over him, watching opportunities go to David instead. When Tom met me, it was the first time he'd had something David wanted. I was the first woman who'd chosen Tom over David, though I hadn't known I was making a choice. David had met me early in Tom's and my relationship, and apparently, he'd been interested. Very interested. He told me he was in love with. Tom said, his voice barely audible through the phone. He said he was going to ask out, that I should step aside because he saw first. My stomach lurched. What did tell him? I told him I was in love with too, and I wasn't stepping aside for anyone, not even him. It was the first time in our entire conversation that Tom had sounded strong, the first glimpse of the man I'd fallen in love with. So what happened? Chose me. And David, he didn't take it well. He started showing everywhere we went. He'd call when I wasn't around, trying to convince to give him a chance. He became obsessed. I remembered those calls now. Early in our relationship, I'd gotten calls from a guy who said he was Tom's friend, who wanted to get to know Tom's girlfriend better. I'd told Tom about them, and Tom had said he'd handle it. I'd assumed he had. I finally had to him off completely. Tom continued. Changed my number, blocked him on everything. I thought he'd gotten the message. But he didn't know. He didn't. When we got engaged, he started showing places again. Our engagement party, bridal shower, places he shouldn't have known about. But he kept his distance, and I thought maybe he was just trying to say goodbye or something. Tom, he was at our wedding. I know. I saw him there. I wanted to have him thrown out, but I didn't want to cause a scene on our wedding day. I thought after that, he'd finally leave us alone, but David hadn't left us alone. According to Tom, David had started following us. Not in a way Tom insisted, but like a lovesick puppy who couldn't let go. He'd show at restaurants where we were eating, at parks where we walk, always keeping his distance but always watching. It was like he was living vicariously through our relationship, Tom said. Like he couldn't accept that chosen me, so he decided to just share our from the outside. That's insane, Tom. That's stalking. I know. I should have gotten a restraining order. I should have told. But I thought if I ignored him, he'd eventually get bored and move on. Then came the fertility issues. This part of Tom's story was the hardest to hear, because it made his betrayal almost understandable. Almost. We'd been trying to get pregnant for 2 years with no success. The doctors had run tests and found that while I was perfectly healthy, Tom had a condition that made conception extremely unlikely. Not impossible. The doctor said our chances were less than 5% per cycle, Tom said. He recommended we consider donor or adoption. I remembered those appointments now. Tom had always insisted on going along to get his results, said he wanted to spare me the clinical details. I trusted him completely, told me everything was fine with both of us. I lied. I was embarrassed. What kind of man can't get his wife pregnant? The kind who gets help instead of lying about it. I know that now, but at the time I felt like such a failure, and then David reached out. Of course he did. Somehow, David had found out about our fertility struggles. Tom never explained how, but I suspected David had been monitoring us more closely than Tom wanted to admit. David had offered a solution. He'd donate, we'd do artificial insemination, and no one would ever have to know the baby wasn't completely ours. He said it was perfect. Tom said, the baby would still be half mine, genetically she'd look like our family, and get to be pregnant, get to be a mother. Without my consent. I thought if got pregnant, be so happy that the details wouldn't matter. The details. Tom, the details are that my daughter is biologically his, not yours. But I raised her. I'm her father in every way that matters. It was exactly what he'd said about me being her mother, and it felt just as hollow. Biology might not be everything, but it was something. It was the foundation that our entire family had been built on, and that foundation was a lie. What was the arrangement with David? Tom was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. Tom, he wanted to be involved. The words hit me like a, involved how? He wanted updates, pictures, he wanted to know about her milestones, her personality, her interests. I've been giving him reports on our daughter for 8 years. Not reports. Just, I'd text him when she lost a tooth, or when she started kindergarten, or when she scored a goal in soccer. He cared about her, Sarah. She's his biological daughter. She's my daughter, Tom. I'm the one who held her when she had nightmares. I'm the one who taught her to ride a bike. I'm the one who knows she's afraid of butterflies and loves the color purple and wants to be a veterinarian when she grows up. And he knows all of that too because I told him. That was complete. Every private moment, every intimate detail of Emma's childhood, had been shared with a stranger. David knew Emma better than some of our actual family members, and Emma had no idea he existed. Does he want custody? The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. He's never asked for custody. He said he just wanted to be part of her from a distance. But now that I know, everything changes, doesn't it? Tom didn't answer, which was answer enough. After I hung, I sat in my kitchen staring at Emma's artwork on the refrigerator. Her self-portraits, her family drawings where she always made me taller and Tom shorter and drew hearts around all of us. In every picture, there were exactly 4 people: Mommy, Daddy, Emma and Jake. She had no idea that her biological father had been watching her create these pictures, had probably seen photos of them. I called my sister Rachel, who lived 3 hours away in Portland. Sarah, what's wrong? Sound terrible. I told her everything. The photos, the lies, David, the artificial insemination I'd never consented to. As I talked, I could hear Rachel's shock turning to fury. That's, she said when I finished. Tom got pregnant through deception. That's reproductive coercion. I hadn't thought of it that way, but she was right. Tom had made medical decisions about my body without my knowledge or consent. He'd allowed another man's to be used to impregnate me while lying about what was happening. Need a lawyer, Rachel said. Today I can't. If I involve lawyers, this becomes public. Emma will find out. Emma's going to find out anyway, Sarah. David isn't going to stay in the shadows forever, not now that know about him. She was right, but I wasn't ready to face that yet. I was still processing the fact that my marriage was over, that my family was built on lies, that I'd been unknowingly co-parenting with a man I'd never met. That afternoon, while the kids were napping, David showed at my door. I recognized him immediately from the photos, but seeing him in person was surreal. He was handsome in the way Tom wasn't, with the kind of easy confidence that made people turn their heads. He looked like an older, more refined version of Emma, and the resemblance was so strong it took my breath away. Ms. Patterson, I'm David. I think know who I am. I know we're not supposed to be here. I know this is awkward, but we need to talk, about Emma, about the future. I should have closed the door. I should have called the police. Instead, I let him into my living room, the same room where I'd discovered the photos 12 hours earlier. I want to know that I never intended for to find out like this, he said, sitting on the edge of my couch like he was afraid of taking too much space. I always hoped Tom would tell eventually, but been stalking my family for 8 years. I've been caring about my daughter for 8 years. She's not daughter, or a donor. David's face hardened. I'm her biological father, and unlike Tom, I didn't have to lie and trick someone to have a child. The accusation hit home because it was true. Tom had lied to me, but David hadn't. David had been honest about his intentions from the beginning. It was Tom who'd kept us both in the dark about each other. I asked, I want to meet her, properly. I want her to know who I am. Absolutely not, Sarah. He leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. I've been patient for 8 years. I've respected Tom's wishes to stay in the background. But now that know the truth, everything changes. Nothing changes. Emma is my daughter and I decide who gets to be in her pine. Actually don't. David pulled out his phone, showed me a document. I never signed away my parental rights, legally. I'm the world tilted. What are saying? I'm saying that if necessary, I can petition the court for custody or visitation. I have 8 years of documentation showing that Tom has been keeping me informed about Emma's, proving that there was an understanding between us about my role as her father, or me. I'm trying to avoid having to. I don't want to traumatize Emma with a custody battle. I just want to be part of her. I looked at this man, this stranger who had more legal rights to my daughter than I felt comfortable with, and I realized how completely powerless I was. Tom's lies hadn't just betrayed me. They'd put Emma in the middle of a situation that could tear her world apart. She doesn't know anything about this, I said. Then we'll figure out how to tell her together. Together. The word felt foreign. And I don't have it together, David. Are a stranger who helped create my daughter. That's it. I'm the man who's loved her from before she was born. I'm the man who's been waiting 8 years to hold her, to talk to her, to be her father. Tom is her father. Tom is the man who lied to everyone and created this mess. I'm the man who's been honest about wanting to be part of her from day one. He was right, and I hated him for it. After David left, promising to call me the next day to discuss arrangements, I sat in Emma's room again, watching her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so innocent. In a few days, maybe a few weeks, I was going to have to destroy her sense of security, and tell her that everything she knew about her family was wrong. That her daddy wasn't really her daddy. That a man she'd never met was her biological father and wanted to be part of her. That her mommy had been as clueless as she was about the truth. Tom came home that evening after I'd put the kids to bed. He looked like he hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, hadn't showered. He looked like a man whose head fallen apart, which I guess it had. David came by today, I said without preamble. Tom's face went white. What did he want? To meet Emma. He says he has legal rights. He can't just take her from us. He's not trying to take her from us, Tom. He's trying to take her from me. Because us doesn't exist anymore. Tom sat down heavily in his chair. The same chair where he'd confessed everything the night before. Sarah, I know I messed. I know I made terrible decisions. But we can fix this. How exactly do you propose we fix the fact that our daughter is biologically related to a man I've never met? How do we fix 8 years of lies? How do we fix the fact that entire family knew the truth and I was the only who didn't? We tell Emma together. We explain that there was a medical situation, and David helped us have her, but that we're still her parents. Except we're not, are we? Or not her biological father. And apparently, David has more legal rights to her than I do. That's not true. Then why didn't ever have him sign away his parental rights? Why did keep him informed about her instead of him off completely? Tom didn't answer, because we both knew the truth. He'd kept David involved because part of him had always known this day would come. Part of him had always known that can't build a family on lies and expect it to last forever. My phone buzzed with a text from David. I'd like to take Emma to lunch this weekend. Just the two of us so we can talk. I showed Tom the message. His face crumpled. He wants to meet her alone, apparently. We can't let that happen. I don't think we have a choice. And that's when it really hit me. For 8 years, I thought I was in control of my daughters, making decisions about her education, her activities, her friendships, her future. Now I was realizing that I'd never been in control at all. David had been there the whole time, waiting, watching, planning for the day when he could step out of the shadows and claim his place in her. I was about to become a peripheral figure in my own daughter's story, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The worst part was that Emma was going to love him. I could already see it. David had everything Tom didn't: confidence, charisma, genetic connection. Emma was going to meet her biological father and wonder why she'd been stuck with Tom for 8 years instead. I was losing my daughter to a man I'd never wanted in our lives, and it was all because I'd trusted the man I married to tell me the truth about my own family. That night, after Tom fell asleep on the couch, I went through more photo albums, looking for signs I'd missed. David was everywhere, but now I could see that Emma was looking for him too. In pictures from the past 2 years, she'd sometimes be looking off camera, like she sensed someone watching her. In one photo from her 7th birthday party, she was waving at something outside the frame. I'd always assumed she was waving at a neighbor or a bird. Now I realized she'd been waving at her father. The meeting happened on a Saturday at Chuck E. Cheese, because David thought Emma would feel comfortable in a familiar place. I sat 3 tables away, pretending to read a magazine while actually watching my daughter meet her biological father for the first time. Emma had been suspicious when I told her a friend of Daddy's wanted to meet her, but she'd agreed to the lunch because I'd promised her unlimited tokens for games. She'd dressed herself carefully in her favorite purple dress, and the sparkly shoes she saved for special occasions. She wanted to make a good impression on Daddy's friend, and it broke my heart. David had brought gifts. Not just any gifts, but things that showed he'd been paying attention to her. A sketchbook and professional colored pencils because Tom had told him about her art classes. A book about becoming a veterinarian because he knew about her dream career. A bracelet with a charm shaped like a soccer ball because he'd been to enough of her games to know she played defense. I watched Emma's face light as she opened each gift. She was chattering away to David, completely comfortable with this stranger who somehow knew everything about her. They looked so much alike sitting across from each other that other parents in the restaurant kept glancing over, probably thinking what a nice father-daughter lunch they were having. After an hour, Emma ran over to me, bouncing with excitement. "Mummy, David is so cool! He knows about my art and my soccer team, and he's even been to some of my games. Can he come to dinner at our house?" David had followed her over. He was smiling, but I could see the tears in his eyes. "She's incredible, Sarah. Thank for raising her so well." I wanted to him, but in that moment, I mostly felt sorry for him. He'd missed 8 years of bedtime stories and skinned knees and first days of school. 8 years of the daily grind of parenting, and now he was trying to build a relationship with the finished product. "We should probably head home," I said. "Can David come with us?" Emma asked. "Please, he said he wants to see my art room." The art room. David knew about Emma's art room because Tom had sent him photos of it. Pictures of my daughter's private space, her sanctuary, shared with a man she'd just met. "Maybe another time, sweet fell. But he's really nice, Mommy. And he knows so much about me already. It's like he's been my friend forever." David and I exchanged a look over Emma's head. She had no idea how true that statement was. That night, after Emma had gone to bed still chattering about her new friend David, Tom and I had the conversation I'd been dreading. "She loved him," I said. She wants him to come to dinner. She wants to show him her room. She's already asking when she can see him again." Tom nodded miserably. "I knew this would happen." "Did? Because I'm starting to think I've been planning for this day all along." "What do you mean?" "I mean, never tried to David out completely, even when kept him informed, let him stay involved from a distance. Part of wanted this to happen." Tom was quiet for a long time. "Then, maybe I did. Maybe I always knew that Emma deserved to know her biological father. But didn't think I deserved to know the truth. I thought I was protecting Poem. We're protecting Tom. We're protecting from having to face the fact that built our family on lies." The next few weeks were a nightmare of logistics and emotions. David wanted regular visits with Emma. Emma wanted to spend more time with David. Tom wanted to maintain his role as Emma's father. I wanted my old back, the one where I thought I knew who I was married to and who my children belonged to. Emma was thriving with David's attention. He took her to art museums and soccer practices, helped her with homework, and listened to her dreams about becoming a veterinarian. He was everything Tom wasn't: present, engaged, interested in her as a person rather than just checking off parental duty boxes. The worst part was that Emma started asking questions I couldn't answer. "Mommy, why didn't Daddy ever tell me about David before? He's so cool, and he knows so much about our family. How does David know about the time I won the art contest if he wasn't there? Why does David look so much like me? Jake looks like Daddy, but I look